Hello and welcome back to another lesson of IELTS for beginners. Today we are going to focus on the second component of IELTS test, that is IELTS reading. Now, depending on how your reading skills in general are, IELTS reading might be difficult or might be easier for you. For me, personally, this part was the easiest because I tend to read a lot in my daily life as well, and I do not face any difficulties with my reading speed or with understanding the general text and extracting information. For most of the people, managing time in IELTS reading is a real challenge. So you have to see whenever you are taking your mock test and check whether you can complete all three passages, all the 40 questions within the 60 minutes time frame or not. If not, you might have to go for different strategies that can help manage your time or just practice reading more to improve your reading speed. Okay? Now let's understand what IELTS reading is. IELTS reading is a little bit different from IELTS listening in a way that instead of 4, it has 3 sections, which means you'll get 3 passages to read. The first passage of it is the easiest, the second one, and then the difficulty level goes on, with the third one being the hardest as well as the longest. IELTS reading actually tests your ability to read and understand English texts in a way that how proficient you are in understanding written English and extracting information from the written context. There will be different formats for IELTS academic reading and IELTS general training reading, in the sense that the academic IELTS will focus more on academic text. You might get lectures from books or scientific journals and other stuff like that. While on the other hand, for general training, the readings will be more focused on everyday life, professional and business contexts, and as such. And in general training, often the passages are much shorter and quite easier compared to the one in academic IELTS. Now, for academic, you will have 3 long texts, as I have already mentioned that those can be from books, journals, or magazines. For general training, you will have 3 sections, 3 everyday short texts, and plus 1 long text, of course. And there will be no extra time for transferring your answers to the answer sheet. You have to fill in all the answers as you read through the passages. It is much more like the on computer listening test, so you don't have to worry about that. And on computer, what you get is you get portions of the passage followed by the relevant questions to that passage. You have to read that passage, answer those questions, and then move on. And it goes on till you get all 40, till you are done with all 40 questions. Now, let's discuss the question types. There are a lot of different question types. Some of these questions might be difficult to answer, but some are quite easier to do so. For example, the multiple choice questions are similar to those in the IELTS listening. You will get a statement and you will get 4 options, and you have to choose from that, just as in the sample question. Then there will be the true, false, not given question. This can be quite tricky. You have to read a statement and then you have to guess whether the statement is true, false, or if it is not mentioned in the passage. In this, whenever answering this question, you always have to remember that it's about what is mentioned in the passage, not about what's true, what you know, and what is it based on your previous knowledge. No. If in the passage it is false, you have to select false. And if in the passage it is true, just select it. Even if it's something that you know the answer of, a statement that you can classify as true or false, but if it is not mentioned in the passage, just go with not given. It's again not a test of your ability and your knowledge. It's just about your language skills. Okay? Now, if the information matches the passage clearly as stated in the passage, you will select true. If it contradicts what is stated in the passage, like it's opposite of what is stated by the author in the passage, you would select false. But if there's no mention of that information, you would go with not given. For example, in this question, the study found that bees prefer brightly colored flowers. Now, if there's a mention of brightly colored flowers or the color of the flower affecting bees' choices, you would go with true. If they say that they are not affected by the color of the flowers, you would go with false. But if there's no mention of the color of the flowers and it is just simply like bees are attracted to flowers and it is general, you should simply go with not given, because there is no mention of the color of the flowers and its effect on bees' choices. The other one is quite similar, the yes, not given one, but you cannot use true for yes and false for no. No, that would be incorrect. If it is a yes, no, or not given question, you have to write yes, no, or not given. Sometimes it becomes quite confusing and you might interchange these two, but if you do that, you lose your marks. Yes, no, not given is again similar to the true, false, and not given, but it is much more relevant to the writer's opinion instead of what is stated in the passage, which is again not that much of a difference, because whatever is stated in the passage is actually the writer's opinion, right? Even if it's based on research, it is what the writer or the author says. So they are similar, but the wording is changed. So be mindful of those words. Read the instructions carefully. Yes, again, if the statement matches the writer's opinion, no if it's contradict or is opposite of what is stated, and not given if it is not mentioned. For example, in this sample question, the writer believes governments should invest more in public transport. Now, if the writer has mentioned anything about government investment in public transport, if it should increase, if it should decrease, anything that is, so depending on that, you would either go with yes or no. If he says that yes, the government should invest more, go with yes. If it is opposite, they say that government should not invest more in public transport, go with no. But if they have mentioned government investment in a different context and public transport in a different context, but they are not relevant to one another within that passage, go with not given. Again, be specific of what is mentioned in the passage. Okay, do not try to just use your own knowledge, your own understanding of it. Be dependent on the passage as much as you can, and you will get a better score. Then there's this third one, matching information to paragraphs. For this part, you sometimes, more often, not sometimes, you have to read the entire passage, which can be quite difficult for most people if your reading speed is not that good, because the passages are quite long and you get only 60 minutes for 3 passages and 40 questions as well. So that can be quite hard, but here a technique that you can use is skimming for these type of questions. In this question, you will get again a statement, and then you will have to match it to the paragraph. Most of the paragraphs will be named A, B, C, D, and you will get the options as well. For example, here in the question, in which paragraph is the history of public transport discussed? Now, depending on, I'm assuming that the paragraph or the passage is about public transport, right? So there will be an introduction about public transport and history and blah blah. So depending on what paragraph that history is touched, you will select that option for this part. And the next one is sentence completion. Sentence completion is more about finding specific details from the passage. So it is like fill in the blanks. Simple question, simple as that. The research concluded that increased blank improves urban living standards. You have to go through the passage to find that information. Simple. And summary completion is similar to the sentence completion, but sometimes you will get a box with a number of words listed from the passage, and then you have to use those words in the passage, in the summary, in the blanks, to complete that summary. Okay, the words will be from the passage as well, but you will get a list of them and you will just put them in the blanks to complete the overall summary. Sometimes you have to choose words from the passage on your own to complete the summary. Depends on what type of question it is. Then the diagram label completion. This can be quite tricky, but it is similar to the diagram labeling one that you get in your listening. But in this case, instead of listening to the overall description, you will read it. A sample question could be like, as you enter the park, on your left is blank, right next to the water fountain. So whatever it is next to the water fountain, just write the name in. But again, be mindful of the instructions. If they have mentioned one word, two word, or three word, be specific and just include the number of words that are mentioned in the instructions. If your answer choice does not matches the number of words mentioned there, you might have chosen a wrong one, and you might have to look again to find the right one. Short answer questions are pretty straightforward. You will get a question and you will have to answer it based on the information you get from the passage. Now, those are all the question types that you might get in your IELTS reading. As you go on with your practices, you will come across these type of questions and you will get familiar with their format and all. But here are some overall strategies that can help you get a better score and improve your overall IELTS results. The first one is read questions first. Of course, as in listening, you will not get particular instructions that you have a specific time to read the questions, but you should do that. Instead of going through the passage first, what type of questions there are, and based on those questions, do you need to read the whole passage, or you can just scan and get all the answers. For example, for one passage, if you have only multiple choice questions, you can just read the statement, the keyword in the passage, find the right answer, and get through the questions in a few minutes. And you can save that much time for the next passage, where you might have to read the entire passage for the overall idea and things like that. Skimming for general idea. If you have to match paragraphs, if you have to find the summary, it is better to skim. For yes and no questions, for true and false questions as well, you will have to skim the passage or read the passage if you can manage your time, and get the overall idea, understand what the passage is about, and then answer the questions. That can actually help your chances of getting the answers right. Scanning for specific information, for fill in the blanks, for summary completion, for multiple choice questions, you can often depend on scanning techniques. Just look for keywords in the passage, get the right information, and get through the answers. Understanding question keywords. Yes, understanding question keywords is essential. What are they asking for? Is it the writer's opinion? Is it what is stated in the passage? Is it something relevant to the overall theme, or some specific information? Are they asking for a date, a name of place, some paragraph mentioned? Whatever it is, read the questions and the instructions carefully. Time management, again and again. Time management is one thing that is really crucial in your reading test. It is in other components as well, but in reading, it is the thing that can make or break your test. Because let's say if you'd spend 40 minutes on the first passage, what about the last two? You can't complete them, right? So the best way is to just allocate 20 minutes for each passage along with their questions. However, this might not work because the first passage is quite simple and the third passage is often quite hard or difficult to comprehend. So go for 15 minutes for the first one, 20 minutes, and then 25 minutes. Some way it can help. The less time you'd spend on the initial passages, the more time you will have for the later one. And don't get stuck on a question. If you cannot find the answer to it, move on. Go through the next access. And once you have some time left at the end of the test, you can get back to the answers that you have missed and look for the information. Again, double check your answers whenever and however you can. Tips to aim for band 9. Again, read instructions carefully. See what they are asking for, how many words they are asking for. Don't spend too long on one question. Again, move on if you are not getting the answer. Don't get stuck. Improve your reading speed daily. Try to read a paragraph at least a day. A passage would be better. Try to read articles from magazines, newspapers, or just anything. Just read it and try to read as fast as you can without losing the flow, and all the while being able to understand the information in the passage. Practice with real IELTS material. This is important. You have to understand the language, the type of language used in IELTS test, plus all the questions that you might get in those tests. So you have to practice with real IELTS materials. You can go through the British Council website, or you can go to IELTS.org for that. Common mistakes to avoid. misreading the question, going with true and false in yes and no question, or selecting one option when you are supposed to select two, okay, or just filling the blanks with your own words while you have a list and stuff like that. Guessing without checking is something you should never do. Even if you think that the answer is pretty straightforward, just take a moment to go through the passage and actually double check it. And writing too many words, go through the instructions carefully. If they have asked for 3 words, no more than 3 words. You cannot go for 4 words, or you are not managing time properly. Again, do manage your time depending on what your reading skills or abilities are. Now, that's all for IELTS reading. It was an overall introduction of what type of questions you might face, as well as some common strategies that can help you with those. In the next lesson, we will go through IELTS writing, and we will discuss what is IELTS writing task 1 and task 2, what are the strategies that can help you with those. Thank you very much for joining in this lesson. You can get in touch with me at my email address for any queries or questions that you might have. See you in the next lesson. Take care.